Hello, this is John from OptionsMeister.com. I get a lot of comments and inquiries relative to some comments I make both in the live trading room, in my trading group, and in a couple of my books about keeping accurate records on trades, at least initially, until you really get comfortable that the math works in your favor. And what I'm going to go over with on this video today with you is my trade log that I've developed, and it's been some different iterations over a period of time. It started out as just a simple spreadsheet, and I've added some different facilities and different attributes to this that may or may not be of interest to you. But let me go over it, and we'll start. I'll give you an overview first. You can just see under the green side over here is all the trade entry information. So when I put in a trade, which we'll go into detail in a little bit, it's all in this block that's under the green. Then when I close a trade, it's under this block in the yellow. And then let me move over here a little before. The net trade results are obviously a byproduct of the entry of these, the green, the entry, and the close. And then I've got some metrics here, which we won't dwell in the detail, but we can briefly go over those for you. But let me take you a little tour around here. In addition to putting in a trade, closing the trade, adjusting the trade, etc., I've got some other tabs on there. Now there's one that I don't use. It's called the Data Entry Master. You can actually use it for data entry. To me, it's a little more cumbersome. I put it in there, developed it to make it easier for people to put trades in. I haven't really found it to be of as much value when I adjust trades, but if it's something you like it, the tool is there. Of course, the trade detail is all the trade detail. Then I've got what I call a dashboard, for lack of a better word, but this is just a summary of everything you see of all the trades that you've entered to date. We're doing this recording on May 2nd of 2020, and we've put in 147 trades, and we've closed 124, et cetera, et cetera. But that gives you a snapshot, as long as your trade log's up to date, of exactly what's happened. The next tab over in red is the strategies by an alphabetical order. Easier to find them that way. Just tells you what the strategy was, how many were done, the percent of the total, whether and I keep track whether to define risk trades or not. And then the one I refer to more importantly, you'll see me posted on Facebook groups, etc., is a strategies by trade level. And if you've read my books, the green are the trade level 1 strategies, the yellow are the trade level 2, and then finally the red ones are trade level 3. Those are all the undefined risk trades. I'll go into a little more detail on this tab, as this will show you, as an example, I've done 7 iron condors. At this point, it's 4.76% of my total trades. It is a defined risk trade, so it goes right into this bucket. These first two are all, both the green and the yellow are primarily defined risk trades, which appeal to the majority of traders, and I of course do a lot more in the undefined risk strategy. But that breaks it down for you by, and then the total P&L year to date by strategy. You can see right now, put credit spreads are at this point, really done 3 of them. They've been losers this year, and it helps you at the end of the year and over a period of time really analyze, what trades do I do well on? Is there extenuating circumstances? I've only done 4 of these jade lizards, and I've got run over a couple of times. And then also on the Super Bull, that was part and parcel to the more recent collapse we had at the end of February into the middle of March in the market. So I want to look at those numbers, and I want to analyze them when I've got enough occurrences in there, and more importantly after the end of the year. And like this year, I love the Jade Lizard strategy and the Super Bowl in the right kind of market, but obviously we have to take them into context with what the market's like. And then finally, in this lower level down here, you'll see the different strategies I've done. And out to the right, I subtotal each area, like the yellow, which are the intermediate trade level 2 strategies. I've done 25 of those. They've been losers so far as a result of these 2 big hits I've taken. And then down here, I've done 69 undefined risk strategies. They've been profitable, and that's the average profit per trade. So that's just a summary. If you, as a byproduct of putting the data in the trade level, the trade detail tab, you get all that particular output unless you mess something up. So if you elect to purchase this spreadsheet from me, and it's very minimal cost, the first thing that I would do is I would make a copy. Now, I don't know how familiar you are. Some of you are very proficient with Excel, but the first thing I would do is come out here and make a copy. Save it, call it something else, save it somewhere so that you've got a copy in case you do get all the formulas and that's screwed up. But they're all repairable, not a big deal. If you have some familiarity with Excel, it shouldn't be a big deal. So let me go into this, and I'm using, you can see we're down here to through the 30th. And I think we closed a couple yesterday on May the 1st. But in any event, I put the date in here, obviously. I mean, it goes without saying. That's pretty self-explanatory. I keep track of the IVR. You may or may not want to do that. I put the IVR in there because I want to know what my average IVR is on trades. I put the symbol, and then I really use, I don't use the EP column anymore, but for the action column, I either use BTO for buy to open, STO for sell to open. The majority of my trades are going to be STOs, and you'll see that, sell to opens. Then I enter the expiry. Then I typically like to put in the strikes. My first trade of the year, which is unusual, but it was a long premium trade, was a buy to open, and it was a diagonal put. So I put the strikes in here, 105, 101. And you can see the iron condor right below here is 116, 1615, 1605, 1485, 1475. Kind of self-explanatory. That's an iron condor. So now this is a unique field, and I keep, I didn't go over the input tab, but I'm going to show you that. You can type these in, but if you use the specific format that these are set up in, you'll get that information on these different strategy tabs. So on the input tab, I got all the different strategies here, and those are the same that you'll see on these tabs here. So when you if you go in here, you'll get a drop-down menu, and you just scroll up and down and find, like this one was a diagonal put, you just come and click that on, and these, by using that drop-down menu, and I'll show you another little shortcut, you'll get that data on the strategies by trade level and alphabetic. So let me go into that a little bit later. As far as the entry, this one was a long entry, paid $375. I enter the commission here. This field just that column Q just sums these four fields. So 375. If I had any adjustments, entry commissions or whatever, they all go in here. And then I put the capital required. So that's pretty standard. Shouldn't be too challenging for you. And then over here, I enter the date that I exited the trade. It calculates, just subtracts the day I entered it from the day I exited, what I exited it for, what the commission was, and what the net trade cost was, and then that generates the net profit loss. Tells me what the return was, 19.19% on the initial capital that I put in, the 377.29. The daily return, because I was only in it for 8 days, was 2.4%, so it's got a pretty substantial annualized return. The net return per day, I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to these anymore, but they are calculated by virtue of copying the cells. Capital required, it just shows you, it picks up this number from over here, then it tells you 1%, how much is 1% a day. I used to really focus on the 1% a day metric and whether I'm over or under my profit. But this light green section, trade metrics, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it anymore with all that we have going on. So I want to walk you through one now where we've had to make some adjustments. So let's go down here a couple. Let's find one here. And these you can choose to not put numbers or not. I usually keep the numbers, and you can sort these if you're familiar with Excel. You can sort them Oftentimes I have to find a trade. I'll sort it by symbol, so all the symbols are together, and then resort them back. But I keep them in chronological order most of the time. That's, but that's personal preference. Okay, so let's find one we closed here that has some adjustments. Yeah, here. Okay, let me go down to Walmart on the 13th. It was 55 IVR, Walmart. The same stuff I talked to you about, strangle. Now, one thing I will tell you, I mentioned about a shortcut. If you're here and you copy and you paste that, and you don't want to, you can do it like that, and that will still, those results will still show up here in the strategy section. So that's just a little shortcut. If you've already used that particular strategy and you don't want to use a drop-down menu, then you can copy it in there. And if you don't care to have the information broken down by strategy, then you can type whatever you want in there. So that it doesn't matter. Okay, so this trade I started out, it was a short strangle. We sold the 119, 112 strangle. Took in $130. Now, after that, we had to make an adjustment. So in this second column, this end column, I put in the rolls and adjustments. And if we have 20 adjustments, I either add them up or each time I put them in there so that I'm always keeping a total of the net adjustments on the trade, positive or negative. This was I don't know what the adjustment was. I'd have to go back and look at the chart, but I started out with 130. I added 30. Now this first column, this was the commission on the entry. I keep these separate. You don't have to do that, but I keep the entry separate and the rolls of the adjustment. Likewise, I keep the entry commission. So I put the entry commission in when I entered the trade, and then I never deal with it again. So as I make adjustments and I have increased the commission, they're put in this column. And then, of course, it still totals across here. And obviously, that does not change. So and then when we finally exited this trade, we were in the trade 16 days. We paid a $73 debit to get out of it, 59 cents in commission, and net trade cost was $73.59. We made $21.83. Not a big deal, but that all of them work the same. Now, one thing I will point out to you that you may choose to use or not to use, you'll see this column S, which is capital at risk. What I do, I simply copy this cell, but I round it up. I don't use the decimal point. So this is what the actual risk, when you do the trade from your platform, it'll show you how much buying power it took or how much margin it requires. I plug that number in there. Then I just kind of keep track here of how much capital I have at risk. When I close the trade, that particular cell gets deleted. So I just do that because I just like to know how much capital. I totaled this number up. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, down here, I got $14,000 of buying power out right now. So I total that up. Again, it's up to the individual. You could total up how many trades, but I know right now that I've got $14,000 worth of buying power tied up. Now, I put that number in initially here, and it may fluctuate as volatility expands or contracts. I never change it. I just go with what that number is, and I figure at the end of the day it'll all kind of wash out. But it's a really simple sheet to use. It gives me a lot of information. I post it obviously in our Facebook trade group all the time and on the website. Periodically, I keep it up to date on the website. But it's been a real simple. It's evolved into a pretty simple spreadsheet. It seems like it's a lot of work, but it really isn't, to type this stuff in. And there's some shortcuts if you know Excel. I'm not going to go into them now, but we could talk about them if you have particular questions. There's some shortcuts as far as putting data. I'll typically go here when I'm closing something, and I'll show you like here. If I was going to close this, if this trade closed, I may copy this cell, go copy, and I go paste here. And then, of course, I go in here. That eliminates that. Then I change the date. It calculates out. I change the exit price. And I just have to change those two columns rather than typing them all in. But that's just another little Excel kind of short cut that I use. But that's the OptionsMeister detailed trade log. I hope this video was informative for you. And if you have an interest in this or have any questions at any time, please don't hesitate to ask me. Thanks. Good luck. Great trading.